Today we are talking about the impacts of foster care on children and areas for improvement. Meet the Bonds, foster care parents from Batesville, Indiana.
My name's Mark, and this is my wife Rachel. You say anything else, I guess, just about us?
Yeah, we've been fostering for almost 6 years.
With your experiences, what aspects of the current foster care system do you feel are working well?
Our favorite part probably is the CASA, someone that speaks on behalf of the children, the court-appointed special advocate. That has changed the way the outcomes of some of our cases have gone.
A lot of times it's difficult. We have a viewpoint of what we think needs to happen in a case. The caseworker obviously has an end goal of trying to reunify. And so the nice thing about the CASA is they're able to be the intermediate person who works for the courts, really, but in the best interest of the children. And so we think that that's a really great part of the system. So there's checks and balances, and that the child does get the best, what's at their best interest is heard by the people that need to make the decisions.
What are the challenges that you or your foster children have experienced, specifically in regards to things like resources, education, or other supports, such as opportunities to receive counseling or therapies?
I think we'll each kind of take a turn on this question. One of I think the biggest challenges we face is that the system has an incredible influx number of kids that come in at any given time. I mean, in the last couple of years, specifically here in Indiana, there's been a lot more children put into the system due to a lot of things like the opiate crisis and a lot of things that cause parents to be able to neglect their kids. Because of that, I don't think the system has been able to catch up with getting enough workers to do their job, which ends up making larger caseloads for the workers. And those caseworkers can get stressed and have a lot of expectations on them. And so one of the big things that happens in that is there's turnover. And that's a big challenge, I think, in the system, because the kids have multiple caseworkers over the course of their time being in the system that are working on their behalf. People that are trained some of the training gets rushed just because they need to get people into the field to work. And so because there's not adequate training, I don't think there's a lot of adequate processes for those caseworkers to be successful. And so because of that, it kind of goes up the chain, and there's not as much people that are experts in the system that are moving up. A lot of people get discouraged on the lower level, and then they leave the system. And so it's challenging for us to be able to get answers back. For people that really have qualified answers, they have to check with someone else, because there's just a lack of training.
I think the other area is lack of services in our area. Counselors are very inexperienced. There's not a lot of experienced counselors that can help the kids that have a lot of severe needs. So if they're able to provide more counselors and services that way, it would be helpful.
Sometimes that's just based on the location of the state. We happen to be in a part of the state where a lot of the services are polarized more toward the central part of Indianapolis, or people will go toward Cincinnati. But where we are doesn't have as much opportunity for kids to get the special care that they need.
What are your thoughts on the aging out process?
We haven't had any children that have aged out. Ours have been 10 and younger that we've fostered. But it is a huge need. They need a lot more services and educational opportunities that I don't think is being met well.
Yeah, I'd agree. Same thing.
Based on your experiences, if you could revise certain aspects of the foster care program, what changes would you recommend for improvement?
Well, all the children that have come in that we've had have been neglected in some way. And so they don't have a lot of academic support in the past. They don't know what their peers know academically from a normal home. And so if the state could provide childcare in the form of preschools with academic emphasis, that would be a huge benefit to the kids that are already struggling. And then when they move, they fall behind at least 6 months academically and emotionally many times. And so if that support could be provided throughout their school system through mentors and tutoring, that would be a huge benefit to the kids.
And this project is really looking at the foster care system across the United States. In Indiana, and we've been foster parents in Missouri and now in Indiana. And the states handle those things differently. In Missouri, there's a blanket, and then the minute a child goes into the foster care system, they're provided with the resources that they need for the preschool side of things, no questions asked. In Indiana, it's a process, and there's vouchers involved, and the waiting period right now can be anywhere up to 18 months waiting for vouchers to be approved for a child to be able to get into preschool, to get the help that they need to get caught up to be able to be successful their first years in school.
All right, well, thank you for your openness in the interview and for providing a home for foster children in need.
Thank you. Thanks for asking us.